This is Space League Gaming. I'm glad that everybody could join us. Today we're gonna be talking about my barbarian build. I'm level 75. I put about 128 hours into the game, and most of it has been on my barb. I do have 3 other level 50 characters, but I'm focused on my barbarian. I enjoy the playstyle. It is a whirlwind bleed build. We'll go over the skill tree. We will go over the gear and what roles you're looking for where, and I'll explain why. And then we'll go over, what gems you should be using. And then we will go over, well, not really go over nothing, my bad. We can go do a nightmare dungeon together and talk about it while we do it, and I'll explain more. So here we go. We'll dive into the skill tree first. Alright, I use Flail as my resource generator, but to be honest, it's a resource generator. A lot of people like lunging strike. I just like the way that Flail goes. I'll put 1 point into there and 1 point into here. I don't get the third part because I just want to move down the tree. I put 5 out of 5 in whirlwind. The other 2 comes from my gear, and I go ahead and get enhanced whirlwind and furious whirlwind, so that when I'm using a slashing weapon while whirlwinding, I also cause bleed. We're going to take this passive right here. That's going to give your core skills have a 30% chance to make enemies vulnerable, which is fantastic. Vulnerable enemies take 20% increased damage. Why would you not get that? Now we're going to not mess with anything else up here. We're going to drop down. We're going to get 1 point into rallying cry, enhanced, and then tactical rallying cry. So when we use it, boom, 20 fury right off the bat. 20 fury is good because a barbarian can't keep his fury doesn't regenerate over time or anything. He loses it if he doesn't use it. And I only put 1 point into it because it just more points just give me more fury generation bonus, which I guess you could put more points into it early game, but late game I would suggest only 1 because of the passives that you need. We're going to go 5 out of 5 into challenging shot because that is our damage reduction. We're a melee character, so we need the damage reduction. And then we're going to go on down to tactical challenging shout, which is when challenging shout is active, you gain 3 fury each time you take damage, which is great. It gives us more fury. No passives in this tree. Right here, we're going to drop down. I'm going to give 1 point into war cry. You ask why 1 point into war cry. We're going to put 1 point into war cry because we deal enough damage. We don't need extra damage. I guess if you're struggling with damage, you could put more into there, but you're also going to lose out on damage at the same time. So, I really wouldn't suggest it. We're going to get 3 out of 3 on booming voice. That increases the duration of our shouts. And we're going to get raid leader. Your shouts heal you and your allies for 3% of maximum life per second. Fantastic. You can support your team and give yourself health. Give everybody health. Then we're going to get these purple passes over here because our rallying cry is going to grant us berserking, which is fantastic. Berserking is great. Gain 3% damage reduction while berserking. You would think, we'd put more points into there, but no. We need those points other places. We're going to get while berserking fury generations and Fury generation is increased by 18%. We're going to drop down here. We're going to get no skills here. It's all going to be passives. We're going to put 1 point here. And the only reason why we're putting 1 point here is to get here and here. We're going to get 3 points into 3 out of 3 and no mercy. 9% increased critical strike chance against immobilized, stunned, or slowed enemies, which is great. You deal 23% increased damage against injured enemies. Fantastic. You hit them 1 time, they're injured. You know, so why not get 23% extra damage? Now see, this right here is going to go good with this. Because you see, against slowed enemies, your bleed affects slow enemies by 10%. Boom, only need 1 point into there. Because we just want the slow effect. We don't care about nothing else. We just want our bleeds to slow. Yeah, we're going to take 1 point into thick skin to get to the next thing, which is this is going to, each time you take direct damage, you gain 4% base life as fortify, which is good. We're going to need all the fortify we can get. Now this says 5 out of 3 because of my necklace. But you're going to put 3 out of 3 on here. So while you have fortify over 50% of your maximum health, you deal 20% increased damage. If I did not have this necklace on, it would only give you 8% more. So we're getting 12% more just from the necklace, which brings us to 20% increased damage, which 12% is a big percentage. If you can find a necklace with passive counter offense plus 1 or 2, fantastic necklace. We're going to drop down. We're going to get Wrath of the Berserker all the way through. Then we're going to jump over to this yellow right here. We're going to get increased maximum fury by 3. We just get 1 point in it so we can get this. Heal 9% of your maximum life for each 100 fury spent. That is fantastic. That's 324 health. And because whirlwind costs so much, because we're whirlwinding and we have this skill, your core skills deal 135% increased damage but cost 100% more fury. That's going to make this proc all the time. We're always going to be healing if we're attacking. And then we're going to get heavy-handed, 3 out of 3. While using a 2-handed weapon, you deal increased critical strike damage. You need all the critical strike damage. That's our skill tree. Remember, we're going to take Unbridled Rage for that. And, you know, just so y'all can see, this costs 36 per second, which is great. Alright, to the gear. Yes, I know I have the lowest roll because it's a level 57 helmet and I need an upgrade. But it doesn't hurt us. Helmets. The most important thing that you can get on your helmet is cooldown reduction. If you can get cooldown reduction on your helmet, your shouts will have less downtime. Very important. You want to make sure your shouts are up when you're dealing damage. If your shouts are not up and you're trying to deal big damage, you won't have any fury to deal damage. You're going to die because that's your damage reduction. You know, and I rolled total armor in there. And then, you know, you gain 25% increased armor for 4 seconds when you deal any form of damage, stacking up to 25%. And we slap a blue gem in there for damage reduction while fortified, because when we're fighting, we're a barbarian. We're always going to be fortified. And yes, I understand that this is a unique. You can get it sacred unique. It does not have to be in World Tier 4. You can get this in World Tier 3. The rolls on uniques are set. You can get this item 50 times, and it's going to have the same physical damage, critical strike against elites, damage reduction against bleeding enemies, and thorns. 100% of the time it's going to have that, which is fine, because we just want the effect. Up to a 38% chance to reduce the cooldown of a non-ultimate skill by 1.5 seconds when you inflict bleed on an elite. That's great. That's going to give us our shouts back faster when we're fighting elites. It's going to give us some physical damage up there at the top, some critical strikes against elites, and damage reduction against bleeding enemies. Everything's going to be bleeding. So we're going to take less damage from everything that we hit. This right here, this, you don't need it, but it is a fantastic damage upgrade. Alright? If you do not have this, you need to look for gloves that give you plus 1 to 2 to whirlwind. And also make sure you have critical strike chance and critical damage on your gloves. Alright? If your gloves only have critical strike chance and whirlwind, that's fine. That's fine. Critical strike damage, that would be a god roll on some gloves. But these gloves are better because of the damage. Pants here. When we're looking at pants, we're going to look for as many things that say damage reduction. Flat damage reduction. Damage reduction to bleeding enemies. Total armor, that's damage reduction. Damage reduction while fortified. And then we throw 2 blue gems in it. Damage reduction while fortified. And then we put this aspect in it. Each point of fury generated while at maximum fury grants 12 fortify. That's great. 12 fortify is fantastic. Alright. These are terrible boots. The only reason why I have them equipped is because fury cost reduction. You get that on your boots, fucking slap them on. It don't matter. Alright, weapons. A lot of people get this confused. Alright. You figured, hey, my bleeds are doing slow damage. Why not get increased damage to slow targets? Yes. That would be a little bit more damage, but there's a problem with that. And the problem with that is that doesn't proc on a boss. You can't slow a boss. Things you want to look for is damage while berserking, core damage, damage to close, vulnerable damage, stuff like that. And those are good because those will always proc, even on a boss. And we put green gems in there to give us critical strike damage against vulnerable enemies. Everything's going to be vulnerable, so we're always going to get that extra critical strike chance. And then we're going to slap, you have a 30% increased critical strike chance against injured enemies while you are healthy. Ooh, that's great. Everything's going to be injured. You're always going to be healthy because of your damage reduction and your fortify. These are just literally, they're stat sticks to an extent. I have damage to slowed enemies right there. That's not a good roll right there, but sometimes you take what you can get. I've got the vulnerable, damage while berserking, and strength. It'd be nice if I had core skill damage, or damage to close targets would also be great. But we're going to slap this effect on here. Whenever you deal direct damage while berserking, inflict 29% of base damage dealt as additional bleed damage over 5 seconds. We're going to be berserking when we're dealing damage. And direct damage is just hitting somebody directly. This, damage while berserking, damage to bleed, core, damage over time. Green gem, damage to vulnerable enemies, and then this is while berserking, you deal 151 fire damage every second to surrounding enemies. Passive damage, you know. And we got our sword here. Our sword, you want to use a two-handed sword. Okay. The reason why you want to use a two-handed sword. Two-handed swords at the top always come with critical strike damage. That's very good. That's going to give you more critical strike damage. Damage to injured enemies, damage while berserking, core skill damage. And then I've got another critical strike damage roll. And then we've got our main damage dealing legendary effect. Whirlwind critical strikes is increased by 12% for each second it is channeling, up to 36%. Keep whirlwinding, and you get more critical strike chance. Alright, we're gonna roll up here on my necklace. I've got two-handed slashing weapon damage. I've got fury cost reduction, cooldown, and what I was talking about earlier, counter offensive passive +2. That is very important on your necklace. That is going to increase your damage by 12% when you're fortified. We are always fortified, so we're always getting that boost. And this is another very important rolls on necklaces, is you always want to get cooldown reduction and fury cost reduction. If you get those two things in early game or late game, that's a good necklace. Okay? You want to find one with both of those things plus the counter offensive +2. That's going to be some good cooldown reduction, some fury cost reduction, because you want fury cost reduction so you can whirlwind longer. The longer you can whirlwind, the longer you can deal damage. And then I've got skills deal up to 30% increased damage based on your available primary resources when cast. Receive the maximum benefit while you have full primary resources. Sometimes when there's a lot of enemies around, I literally have max fury the entire time. So I'm constantly going to be getting 30% increased damage at its max benefit. And we slap skulls in here for armor. We're a melee character, so we're going to be getting hit by melee people. So armor is damage reduction against physical damage. Melee enemies deal physical damage. More armor. Rings. I'm going to say the only thing you need to look for on rings is critical strike chance and critical strike damage. The other rolls, your preference. This is a very important key legendary effect. Whenever you cast a shout skill, its cooldown is reduced by 1.1 seconds for each nearby enemy, up to a maximum of 6 seconds. That's going to make it where you can shout more. That's great. The more shouts, the better. Look, see, I've got my critical strike chance, critical strike damage, damage to close, vulnerable damage. Those are good rolls. And I've got your shouts generate 3 fury per second while active. More fury, more whirlwind, more damage. That's our gear. We'll pop a nightmare dungeon. Looking for a tier 30. We'll rock this one right here. Open up our map, see where it's at. Go ahead and fast travel to this waypoint. I'll see you guys when I... Alright, welcome back. We made it. We're gonna drink an XP elixir so I can get some XP, but literally so everyone can see, increase dodge by 4%. That's not gonna benefit us none. It don't matter. I just want to make sure that y'all know that the XP potion that I am drinking is not doing anything for my build so that I can showcase it correctly to everyone and not lie to everyone. We are using the same build that we just used because a lot of YouTubers will show you a build, go into a dungeon, and use a different build. As you see, we're using the same build. No different. See, with the barbarian, we're gonna group our enemies up. Once we get a lot of them, see how we just whirlwind through them. As you see, these enemies are level 84, and it doesn't matter. They're 9 levels higher than me, but it don't matter. This elite, off our Wrath of the Berserker for big damage. Look, he's gonna bleed to death. Come over here, we've got a pylon. We got an artillery pylon. We got snag that. This poison won't go away. We're gonna pick up our ancestral ring and our nightmare sigil. I'm pretty sure that's the door. Yes. So we're gonna make a loop here. See, like, we just group our enemies up. Oh, we can definitely click that.
I need more time.
We're gonna just see how we group our enemies up. And then we cast our shouts so we get the best cooldown reduction for it. Got elites here, pop our Wrath of the Berserker for big damage. Whirlwind around. We accidentally died. That's fine. There was a lot of poison on the ground. Alright, we'll move on to the next objective.
Not ready yet. Have enough fury.
literally run to the door.
I need more time.
We're gonna have us a nice mob here. We're gonna pop everything, a lot of enemies, and elite's gonna spawn out of this thing right here. We're just gonna whirlwind around in circles.
I need more fury.
Boom, there we go, see that? Nice and smooth. See how our health bar is a little bit more red? That's our fortify. So you know we pretty much have 2 health bars. Pop everything right here. Walk over here, get these guys involved.
I'm out of fury.
Oh, we've got a little chest event. Triple elite here. No big deal for the barbarian. Doesn't even matter what their levels are. Barbarian doesn't care. Look at that, we already got our shouts back up and we just used our shouts. Look at, there's this other pedestal that we're looking for. Smack it for him a second. Our shouts are already back up. Boom, dungeon complete. No big deal. Upgrade our exploit because that's what I'm upgrading. Travel back to town. And then when I have more characters built the way I want them, we'll do some more build guides. Hope everybody enjoyed that. I hope that helps everybody with their barbarian if you're struggling. I do understand that level 50 when you first go into World Tier 3 is a struggle. Just be patient with your build. Keep looting. Keep running dungeons. Do your held tides so you can get your chest. Look for your mystery boxes. And then I understand that as soon as you get into World Tier 4, at around 60 something, you know it is also a struggle. But like I said, don't give up. Keep going for loot. Do your held tides. Do your dungeons. It's all good.